What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another live stream here at Acrisure Stadium following the Pittsburgh Steelers win over the Cincinnati Bengals, a game that Jacob was wrong on. We'll start with that one. A game that holds on to the lead in the AFC North, a game that was wild. It had quarterback injuries. It had running back injuries. It had interceptions. It had James Pierre touchdowns. It had Kyle Duggar touchdowns. And it had Jalen Ramsey ejections. And in the midst of all of that, the Pittsburgh Steelers find themselves with a dominant win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Another win in the AFC North. And on top of that, some stars that are emerging that I am thrilled to dive into. Let's start with the big news, obviously, and thank you guys for jumping on with me. While you're here, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Can't thank you enough for everything you guys do for me. As we have questions, toss them in the chat, and we'll get to them a little bit later. Let's start with the news that happened during the game that we got more clarity on after the game. Aaron Rodgers is the big one, suffered a hand/wrist injury right before the end of the first half, went right into the locker room before the end of the first half, and then did not return. Mason Rudolph played the second half of the game. Mike Tomlin said afterwards that it's a wrist injury that he will be evaluated for more tomorrow. There was some blood according to the broadcast. I obviously did not see that. I was sitting in the press box. You didn't hear much about it after the game. I'll say this, very straightforward. I do not believe Aaron Rodgers has any part of him that thinks that he's going to miss Chicago. And one last opportunity to claim the city that he has told many times before that he, quote unquote, owns. And I get it. He's got a wrist injury. I get it that he's banged up. I get it that the Pittsburgh Steelers season relies on more than just Chicago, but it is hard to sit here and say Aaron Rodgers will miss any time for the Pittsburgh Steelers because, well, quite frankly, he probably had Chicago on his list before he ever signed in the city of Pittsburgh. And if that's the case, he's going to get an opportunity to play against the city of Chicago and the Bears one last time. Plus, Chicago's a good team right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers are fighting for the AFC North. You just got to feel like if Aaron is anywhere close to goable, the Steelers are going to put him out there and rock with their quarterback one. They have a lot of faith in Mason Rudolph, and if they have to turn to Mason, they're not going to be too upset about the situation, but at the same time, it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's a steep drop-off, and I don't think Aaron played his best football today by no means. I don't think he's played his best football the last 2 weeks, and maybe that's a concern. But I also know Aaron Rodgers well enough to know that he wants to play the city of Chicago. He wants to play the Bears. He is not going to sit out that game if he doesn't have to. And if the medical staff gives him any clearance, he's going to go out there and he's going to play against the Chicago Bears in Week 12. I'll have more on that tomorrow. Obviously, right now, I don't know exactly what's happening. I know it's a wrist injury. I know he's going to undergo more x-rays and tests over the next 24 hours. We might get an update later tonight, but as of right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are still a little bit in the dark on exactly what's going on and the severity of it. The good news is that it's on his non-throwing hand, which is obviously a good sign and something that you could overcome a lot easier than if it was his throwing hand and then he had a lot of issues. On the other side of that, Jalen Ramsey ejected from this game for punching Jamar Chase, a moment that came literally seconds after the ref said, don't do it again. Here is your first personal foul or unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And if it happens again, you're going to be ejected. According to Jalen Ramsey, Jamar Chase spit on him. And I believe him. I really, truly do, because I look at this and say simply, if you are a professional athlete, and Jalen said this himself right after the game, he said this, I'm not going to just do something stupid in a close game to risk our chances of winning for no reason. So he spit on me. He spit clear as day. And if you watch the video back, it sure looks like Jamar Chase spit on him. and joined a growing trend of people who spit on each other in the NFL, which is wild to me. Why are we spitting on each other as grown adults in the heat of a moment? I remember back in the day where you used to just call somebody, you know exactly what a little female dog. That's what you used to call them. Now you're spitting on people? Crazy to me. But I get it. Heat of the moment. There are certain rules. I would tell my kid the same thing. Don't be fighting people, but if somebody spits on you, I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to get mad. And I just think that's how everybody should look at this one is there are certain reactions in this game that may be warranted. That might be one of them. And Jalen Ramsey, he called him out for it. I don't know what to expect from this one. I could see Jalen getting suspended. I could see Jamar getting suspended. I could see both of these guys missing game because of the incident, which leaves the Pittsburgh Steelers down a lot against the Chicago Bears. They might be without Jalen Ramsey, potentially Darius Slay, Cole Holcomb, maybe Aaron Rodgers. Brandon Echols has been dealing with some stuff on and off. I just feel like it's a dangerous situation right now for the Steelers defense when it comes to the Jalen Ramsey outcome. We'll find out in the coming days. If it's a suspension, it'll happen by Wednesday, maybe Thursday, the absolute latest, but it'll most likely happen before the practice week begins so that the Pittsburgh Steelers have an understanding of what they're working with before they step on the field. If it's not a suspension and it's just going to be a fine, then the Steelers will find out and Jalen Ramsey will find out on Saturday, which would stink. And again, nobody should be fighting anybody, but spitting on people? What are we doing? How did we get here? The Pittsburgh Steelers, they walk away from this one a 34-12 win over the Cincinnati Bengals. The offense should have scored 34 points. The defense should have held Cincinnati's offense to 12. And it is a game that on paper, boom, that is exactly what you're looking for. That is the outcome that the Steelers want. There are no serious quarterback questions. Like, I'll talk about it tomorrow morning. I'll talk about the Mason Rudolph and the Will Howard situation and how you go about it if Aaron isn't out there. I get it, but at the end of the day, if Aaron goes, Aaron's going. Aaron's playing, and you're not gonna keep him off the field in Chicago when he historically owns the city of Chicago. But if he's not good to go, let's have a conversation. Let's talk it out about how the Steelers should approach things because I think it's very interesting. And then on the defensive side of the football, is James Pierre? Is he corner one for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is James Pierre cornerback one for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now? He might be. He genuinely might be, which is so awesome. James Pierre, a gamer. I asked him after the game. I said, James, Mike Tomlin always calls you a gamer. What is a gamer? He said, somebody who makes plays. You want to know who makes plays? James freaking Pierre. That's who makes plays. That dude came out here and was a stud against the hardest receiving core he will face all season. And I got nothing negative to say. Nothing. I'm not going to sit here and say, I don't know if James Pierre could do this for the rest of the season because, quite frankly, James Pierre shouldn't have been able to do what he did 30 yards to my right all day today. He shouldn't have been able to do it, and he did it. And the Steelers' defense looked really good because of it, because they had an island, and that island was named Pierre Island. Corner one for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I get it, you got Joey. I get it, you got Brandon Echols. Great move to keep James Pierre out there and to allow him to do things like shut down Jamar Chase on deep balls. That is not something the Steelers have had all season long, and now they have it. And again, it could go away in a minute, in half of a game. It could take one play. It could also last the rest of the season, and shout out to James Pierre for being able to do that. I expect next week that there's a conversation. If Darius Slay's coming back, like, I get it. You want to talk and have the veteran, the Super Bowl champion out there if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, I get Mike Tomlin's thought on it. But come on, let's be honest here. Darius Slay hasn't even come within a mile of playing as good as James Pierre has played. Within a mile of playing as good as James Pierre played today. How do you put him back on field? How do you do that? I don't think that you do. I truly, I have a hard time justifying it. It could go away in a heartbeat. But for right now, results speak for themselves. And right now, James Pierre is corner one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Corner one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. I want to go through grades. I want to go through the play of the game. I want to go through the player of the game because I want to add a little bit of segments to this as we're going through it because I think that's exciting to give everybody grades. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. You run through the stat sheet here. Aaron Rodgers, 9 of 15, 116 yards and a touchdown. Mason Rudolph, 12 of 16, 127 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Warren, 10 rushes, 62 yards. Kenneth Gainwell, 9 rushes, 24 yards. And then you got good old Kenny G with 81 yards and Darnell Washington with 67. Kenny G also had 2 receiving touchdowns on the day. DK Metcalf has 49 yards. Do you want to know what the offensive grade was? It was an A. It was an A. Nah, it was a B plus. It was a B plus. I thought that the passing game looked way better after Aaron Rodgers left, which is no dig on Aaron Rodgers. I just thought it looked better. The running game was awesome, but why are you still ignoring Jalen Warren the way that the Steelers are ignoring Jalen Warren? Why are you taking him off the field on third downs? I get it. Kenneth Gainwell, great receiver. Jalen Warren was averaging 6.2 yards a rush. Jalen Warren continues to be an absolute freak of a running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why are you taking him off the field? Shout out to Alan Saunders. Go check him out on Steelers now. Thank you for turning the lights on. Then you have Mason Rudolph stepping in here and looking good. You have DK Metcalf getting involved. And then you have Darnell Washington doing freaky things, man. Darnell Washington was doing insane. Today, there is no questions asked. James Pierre front flipped into the end zone. Kyle Duggar took a 74-yard interception to the house. The most exciting man on the field was Darnell Washington. I mean, a failed third down was potentially the best play of the game because he tried to hurdle 3 guys and almost did it, nearly killed a man in the process. I mean, that is as fun as it gets. Shout out to Darnell Washington. On the other side of the football, the defense is, that one was an A. Potentially A-plus material, if we're going to be really honest. I mean, you had Nick Herbig getting pressure, Keanu Benton getting pressure back there, Derek Harmon playing phenomenal rush defense, Patrick Queen coming alive today, which the Steelers desperately needed, Pierre Island doing things, Jalen Ramsey before he's punching Jamar Chase in the face, doing big things, Kyle Duggar coming up with touchdowns, James Pierre, like I said, scoring touchdowns, Peyton Wilson making plays. I mean, you were doing everything you needed to do. There were no notes. The only note is like, okay, cool. TJ Watt, maybe you get another sack. Maybe add one to the resume. But if Nick Herbig's going to get back there, who cares? Truly, who cares? That's an easy win. That's an easy one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that's A. I think that's potentially A-plus material for the black and gold. Special teams, B-. I mean, I get it. Chris Boswell's kicking field goals and being Chris Boswell, but Calvin Austin, what are you doing, man? I'm staring at where he watched the ball take a jump that would have went 10 yards into the end zone before anybody even got to the 5-yard line, and he decided to catch it and then take it to the 4. Why? That one made no sense to me. If you don't do any of that, you have a normal B day, no notes. B- for the special teams because that, and honestly, if Chris Boswell missed, if the last field or the last PAT that hits off the goalpost, if that doesn't go in, C. You're getting a C on the day. Crazy to think Danny Smith and those gum. Maybe he was a little chilly. Maybe he didn't have enough gum in his mouth. Either way, just dumb play from Aaron Rodgers and or not Aaron Rodgers, Calvin Austin and the special teams that gives them a little bit of a lower grade. When you talk play of the game, don't get me wrong. I want to give it to Darnell and his stiff arm. I do. I think that was the most exciting play that they had. Like, that was so awesome. So awesome. I got to give it to Kyle Duggar. You got to give it to the interception for a touchdown. That play put the game away. That was the end of this game. There was no turning around for the Bengals. There was the Steelers won it. No questions asked. That was the end of the game. Kyle Duggar, easiest interception. He even admitted it. He was asked this big question about, did you see the eyes and were you able to read Joe Flacco? And he said, no, I was just standing there and Joe just threw it to me. That was it. And that's what it was. That was the play to take it 74 yards. I mean, he said, as soon as I touched the football, I thought it was, I'm going to score a touchdown on this play. And he did it. Kyle Duggar's interception was the play of the game. That ended the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, put them away, and gave them the boost, gave them the momentum to finalize this one and make it a dominant blowout win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what they needed. The player of the game. I think you could go James Pierre. And to be honest with you, he has to be an honorable mention. James Pierre today, to be honest with you, I have a hard time not making him the player of the game. That's how close this is. He is player of the game 1B. That's what he is. James Pierre comes out. He leads the team in tackles. He's got a fumble recovery for a touchdown where he flips into the end zone. He proves once again that Mike Tomlin is right, and he is a quote-unquote gamer. And, I mean, you can't ask for anything more. He shuts down Jamar Chase. T. Higgins scores a touchdown on Jack Sawyer, not even a corner, so you can't put that on anybody in the defensive backfield. That one's on the defensive game plan. James Pierre's there. But the other person on this list is Darnell Washington. Because, I mean, anybody who watched this game, your biggest takeaway from this thing is not Jalen Ramsey punching a dude in the face. It's not Aaron Rodgers leaving at halftime with a wrist injury. It is not James Pierre front flipping into the end zone. It is Darnell Washington stiff-arming his way through the entire Cincinnati Bengals defense with stiff arms that were just vicious. These were brutal stiff arms. These were not your normal everyday stiff arms. These were your whoever ended up on the ground is going to feel this for days. If there was a rookie out there that got stiff-armed by Darnell, his welcome to the NFL moment just happened. That's what those were. Darnell was a blast. I think he's a star in the making for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think we're starting to see that. And I would love for Darnell to continue to be an absolute freak. I think him and Pat Freiermuth are the perfect 1-2 punch for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And then you bring in Jonnu Smith as just like that alternative 3, and I think that works really well too. But Darnell, man. Darnell is stiff-arming guys into other centuries and making dudes run back as he's the player of the game in this one. I think he's got to be the guy that everybody's looking at as the, again, most memorable player in this game. And that include 2 defensive touchdowns and an Aaron Rodgers injury and Jamar Chase and Jalen Ramsey fighting each other. Darnell Washington. Shout out to Darnell Washington. Couple honorable mentions. You guys are all right here. Kenneth Gainwell, Nick Herbig, all right there. Yeah, exciting times. All right, guys, with that said, start tossing your questions in the chat. I'm going to get to as many of them as I can before we head out of here, or before I head out of here. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. Can't thank you guys enough for everything that you do. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Let's get it kicking here with Michael. Noah, needed opinion, Jaylen Warren or Nick Herbig jersey? That is a great question. Okay. If you're thinking short term, it's Jaylen Warren, because that's just, he deserves it. He deserves for people to earn his jersey. He deserves to get those jersey sales. He deserves to have people in these stands right here cheering him on with 30 on their back. He deserves all of that. if you're thinking long term, it's Nick Herbig because to be very honest with you, Herbig's going to be here longer. Herbig's going to be a franchise piece for the Steelers next. He's going to be the guy. Alex Highsmith wasn't out here. And once again, we got a reminder that the Steelers don't. It's great to have Alex Highsmith, but it's not a necessity to have Alex Highsmith when you have a Nick Herbig. And I think that works. I would go Herbig if you're thinking long term. I'd go Warren if you're thinking this season. If you're somebody that buys a jersey every year, go buy a Jalen Warren jersey. If you're somebody that buys one every century, buy a Nick Herbig jersey. Enigma After Dark. Oh, do you need to come here?
I'm getting some complaint about propane leak. I'm making sure there's no leaks here.
Oh, do your thing. We might have a leak right in front of us here, guys.
No, sorry about it.
No, you're good.
I'm back to the 8 and trying to turn this on. That's all.
I was gonna say, Enigma After Dark. Who's the game ball going to? Like I said, it's got to be Darnell. It's got to be Darnell Washington. James Pierre is right there too. I would guess James Pierre. If I had to guess, this is where the game balls went to in the locker room. Darnell got one, and James Pierre got one. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know for certain, but if I had to guess, those are the two that I'm saying toss their names on a game ball today. Looks like we're good. No propane leaks. Hopefully, does smell a little bit like gas when you walked out here, but you know what? We're taking one for the team here. Grayson's Ginger. Is Mount Washington the most entertaining player on the team this year? It's got to be either him or Jalen Ramsey, in my opinion. Washington is scary. If Darnell Washington is on the field and involved, then yes, it is Darnell Washington. The guy is a blast, 100%. I mean, 100% it's Darnell Washington. Jalen Ramsey is the most exciting player on the defense, I think, because he's making plays and he talks a lot of smack and he's in guys' faces. Like, I'm a fan of that. But on the offensive side of the ball, I got a hard time thinking that the Steelers' most exciting player right now is not good old Darnell Washington. Make it make sense. My biggest thing from this game is yet again, Tomlin proves he can still coach and have a defense on fire to stop a high-powered offense, and Tomlin's name is hardly being said, and I'm curious why. I think today was a good win for Mike Tomlin. I think the roller coaster ride continues, and it's heading in the right direction, which is great. I will, and I don't think anybody else should either, say that a win over the Cincinnati Bengals means that you're a great football team, but I will say that if the Pittsburgh Steelers remain on top of the AFC North another week, that's another win. That's all you could hope for. Right now, the Buffalo Bills are losing football games. The LA Chargers are losing football games. Like, the window is still open, you know? And I've said this many times in the past. Would it stun me if the Steelers stumbled into a Super Bowl? Never. It would never stun me, ever. And that's exciting. So shout out to Tomlin. This is another win for him. Another win for this defense. And I think a defense that's on the rise right now. And 100%, headed in the right direction and something that we should acknowledge. Keeping it trucking here. Jeremy, Howard's first NFL snap next week. Oh, man. You know what I would have loved? And shout out to DK, who sits next to me in the press box. He's the one that brought this up. But I look at this and say that, and he said it would be awesome if Mason faked an injury, Will did the victory formation. That would be incredible. I don't think that Will's going to be the guy next week. I would be Mason, obviously. I mean, Mason had a good game when he was out there, but if Aaron doesn't go, Will becomes the backup, and that certainly throws a wrench into the very non-exciting journey of Will Howard and the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Makes you think a little bit, makes you get a little excited about where things may be headed for the rookie quarterback and his opportunity this season. Enigma After Dark, once again, Jacob should be forced to buy a Tucker Washington Pierre jersey, at least one of them. He texted me immediately texted. We'll go through let's go through the Jacob Noah text exchange here as my phone loads. It's getting a little chilly out here, so the laptop might start freaking out. It goes 1:09 p.m. halfway to my score prediction. And then the next text I got from him was 1:47. James Pierre, kid's a gamer. Then the next text I got from him was at 4:01. Holy shit, James Pierre, kid's a gamer. And then he finished it off by saying, I need a dunce cap for tomorrow. So he's acknowledging it. He's acknowledging his wrongs. And look we're going to roast him tomorrow. It's going to be a good time. I need everybody to be nice to him, or we need to be nice, but we're allowed to roast him a little bit, 100%. Bryant, is it true that Ramsey got spit on and that's why he threw the punch? Happy with the win. Rudolph starts next week. Thank you for what you do. Shout out to Bryant, dude. Thank you. Appreciate you so much. So Ramsey told us after the game that he got spit on, that's what happened, and he made it known. And I'm going to be really honest with you. He said it, and it very much so felt like I got spit on, and I'm not going to be the only guy that walks out of here with a fine and a suspension for throwing a punch. You're going to have to acknowledge, and the NFL is going to have to acknowledge, go look at it because I got spit on. It kind of sounded to me like it was evidence that was there, and he knows it's there, and that's why he was not messing around. He was not holding back. He was letting it be known that he got spit on, and he was by no means going to just take the fall on his own for that, and I believe it. I don't think Rudolph starts next week only because it's Chicago, and I think that Aaron Rodgers wants to play in Chicago so bad. So bad that I have a hard time thinking he is going to say, yeah, you know what? It's a wrist injury. Let's take it slow. If it wasn't Chicago, if this was Detroit, Buffalo, Cleveland, Baltimore, Miami, even, I don't think he plays. Or I think there's a chance he doesn't play. Chicago, I think he's going to play in Chicago. But I was happy with Mason Rudolph for sure. Grayson the Ginger, if I had a time machine, I would grab Big Ben and Jerome Bettis both in their prime. Could you imagine combining them with Washington? Who would tackle them? Gotta love them smoke sesh thoughts. Shout out Grayson the Ginger, who is clearly having a great time post-game for the Pittsburgh Steelers win. Jerome Bettis, Big Ben in their prime with Darnell, Spencer Anderson lining up at fullback, DK Metcalf out there, even Pat. Let's not in the conversations of tight ends that run people over. Pat Frymuth loves running guys over, and I think he needs more credit. You toss him out there, maybe bring back Keith Miller, add James Pierre to the mix. That's the scariest football team of all time. And Grayson, if you're playing Madden right now while also doing this and hanging out, I think you put it together. I think you put that team together and you have a great time. Shout out. Butthole 91, what's up with the lack of numbers from Watt? He's getting chipped all the time. And there's no excuses. Like, he's got to play better. He's getting chipped more than anybody in the NFL. He had 2 pass deflections today. It's not like he was not involved in the game, but I agree. Like, you need some splash from TJ. You want more splash from TJ. And I don't know if I expect it, but I think he fully acknowledges that you need more splash from him. And I mean, are you going to get it? I don't know. Are the Steelers going to change some things? I don't know. Is TJ going to continue to work at it? That I think is a yes. Hey, Ron, how are you going to not mention Hines Ward in that lineup? You're not wrong. Slipped my mind. It's freezing cold out here. I apologize. My laptop is sitting on a thing of propane tanks that may be about to explode. Who knows? You're right. You're not wrong. ND Joe, I wish that Muth would have had more looks than he did. He was more open than those that were thrown to. I also admit Jones had a better game, but it was against questionable defense. Yeah, I'm not. Look at Broderick Jones. Good game. Shout out. I am not taking this one for anything more than what it was at face value, which was a Cincinnati Bengals defense. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, Broderick had a good game against the Bengals. I could have a decent game against the Bengals. Come on, name one guy that was out there. We can't do it. I hear what you're saying though, and I agree. Take it at face value for what it was. Quality game. Muth is becoming tight end one for the Pittsburgh Steelers with Darnell, and I love it. If that's the case, great. Let Darnell or let Jonnu just be that third that's in here, fill in the blanks. Huge fan of that rotation. But I agree. Muth was open all the time. He's starting to be open more and more. Pat last year was open all the time and never got the football. This year he's getting opportunities and looks, and he's no longer in the doghouse. And I think it's great to see. Shout out to Pat Fryermuth. Michael, by the way, coming to you from Sydney, Australia, and this is my first live, but a fan since Russ came from Denver. Steelers over Broncos, 100%. Ask my dad. He's a longtime Denver Broncos fan, and we both on Sundays sit around and go, how's Russ doing? Doing well? That's good. I'm glad. Shout out, dude, from Sydney, Australia. Fun fact, almost moved out to Perth a long time ago to go play a little lacrosse out there with a buddy. Didn't end up happening. Not going to say I don't regret it. Life turned out pretty okay. I'm, freezing my butt off at Acrisure Stadium right now. Life's a blessing. But that's pretty crazy. That's pretty awesome. Shout out to you. And appreciate you as always, my guy. Appreciate you as always. All right, let's keep it trucking here. Nice tokes. Is it safe to say Darnell is scarier to tackle than Derrick Henry? Oh, man. To be honest with you, Derrick Henry is like scary, but I've also heard from guys that Derrick Henry isn't that vicious to tackle. I've been told Derrick Henry's a speedster, big speedster. I just, I don't know if I don't know if I put them in the same conversation, only because Darnell is he'll murder you. You know what I mean? Darnell put a man through him. I think I might go home and just my wife will be like, how's your day? And I'll be like, good. I'm going to show you some highlights. And I'm just going to show her Darnell murdering men today. And I think she's going to get a good laugh. I think she's going to have a good time talking about Darnell absolutely smoking guys. Maddie, y'all see the Browns keeping the Ravens in check? Let's get a little score update here on the good old Baltimore Ravens. 13-10, the Browns. Minute 12 left in the. Yeah. Shout out to Cleveland. Shout out to Cleveland. Just shows anything can happen, guys. A nice large lead seems pretty good. What's going to be the plan with Asante Samuel Jr. after a game like that from Pierre? Safe to say he got slow rolled into the defense. Yeah. I think Asante is going to eventually become part of the defense, but I also think that the Steelers viewed him as a guy who hasn't played football in a year, so they're going to be cautious about it. But I think that was the plan the whole time. I don't think that's changed. I think that right now where they're at, it's let's get them in here slowly. But I also think that today with Brandon Echols going down for a minute, with Jalen potentially getting suspended, you never know what's going to happen there. I think that can move Asante a little bit faster into the 53-man roster. John, can you clear this up for me? I thought when an offensive player went out of bounds, the clock stopped. There was a few times DK and 14 were moving forward, going out, and the clock kept going. I don't believe that rule follows. No, it should follow all the time. Maybe their momentum wasn't. I mean, you're saying that they were moving forward, so their momentum was moving forward. So that would mean that the clock stopped. I'd have to look into that, to be honest with you. And I feel bad that I can't give you an exact answer where we stand today, but I'll walk in there and I'll ask. Maybe Alan Saunders will walk by us again. He'll be able to give you an answer. He knows everything there is to know about everything. I wish I did have a definitive answer. Maybe it's the time of possession. Maybe it's, I don't know. I truly don't know. You're right on this one. And if they were moving forward, I would have thought the same thing. Maybe they ruled momentum before and stopped the clock before they were actually out of bounds. That would be the only thing I could come up with off the top of my head. No, it only stops on out of bounds if it's the last 5 minutes of either half. There you go. There's the answer. There's the answer. There's the answer. Shut up. There's no need for that. Grayson the Ginger. Does the Steelers shop sell Washington jerseys? I'm feeling pretty froggy, and think I'll buy one if they're available. They should have them. He's definitely been in the league long enough to have one, for sure. For sure. Shout out to Darnell, man. Poke my spinal cord, confusion salad. James Pierre for MVP. Dude is a dog. Stud. Absolute stud. James Pierre is. Start him next week. There's my argument for it. Start him next week. Start him all. Why not? You know? Darius Slay's not coming in here and doing any better. Start him. 100% start him. All right, just making sure I'm not going to miss anything here. But 91, why not move him around like the other premier defenders across the league? Parsons, Garrett, Crosby, etc. Your guess is as good as mine, brother. The Steelers have said for a long, long time that they're going to do that. They haven't done it. They continue to not do it. That's the only explanation I could give you, because there's no actual logical, like, oh, well, they don't do it because of this reason. No, they just don't. They don't do it. They say they're going to, and they don't. And that's been the only excuse they've had forever. Dylan, hear any complaints about the surface after the ND pick game yesterday? No, nothing. It could have been just because of how chaotic today was that nobody really had time to talk about the field. But no, didn't hear anything, any complaints, which is a good thing. Maddie, how long do we think Rodgers will be out? I don't think he misses a game. I think I personally think he starts against Chicago. If it was any other team, I don't think that he would push hard to get out there, but I know he wants to play against Chicago. I know he does. Enigma After Dark, what's your confidence level of Mason going forward? I think Mason's fine. I think he's a capable spot starter. Like, I look at Mason Rudolph and say, if you got to start 2 games for Aaron Rodgers, I trust that he has an opportunity to win those 2 games. What do I think that he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback? I don't think I have that confidence level right now where we sit today. I'm not going to say no. I just don't think I have the confidence level. But I think Mason's a very quality backup quarterback and a quality spot starter, and I think the Steelers could do just fine with him in there. Grayson the Ginger, after today, what do you think the Steelers team records will end up being once the season is over? I predict we'll be 11-6, maybe 10-7. I think 9-8 is still where I sit, maybe 10-7. I don't think they get to 11. Not a lot changed for me today. My confidence that they could win the AFC North grew today, but that's about all that grew. And we're going to take it 1 week at a time. You beat Chicago. I think that's a different situation. I think we have another conversation to be had about, maybe that win total goes up, but today I don't think my record changed as much as my confidence in the AFC North changed. But I'll take care, bro. How much to take away from today? Oh, man, so much. So much. I mean, you can walk away from today thinking the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is 2 solid games in a row, getting better, which is good, against a pretty good offense. And their offense has guys like Darnell Washington that are exciting. And Jalen Ramsey continues to be a guy. So I think that's a lot to take away from. I think that's a lot to take away from. Larry, do you think Jonnu Smith should be used a lot less in the playbook? I don't think a lot less. I just, I think if you're going to give a split here, I think Pat and Darnell should outsplit Jonnu. I think that's I do. And I don't think I'm taking Jonnu off the field. I think Jonnu's a good tight end. But I think Pat and Darnell are playing better right now. Eddie the Great, does the inconsistencies from week to week drive you as crazy as it does me? Yeah, for sure. That's why I don't sit here and say like my record prediction changes on a week to week basis. It can't. Where we sit today, I'm more confident that the Steelers will win the AFC North, but that could change in a week. And it's these things happen a lot with Pittsburgh, and you just got to ride the roller coaster. All right, making sure I didn't miss anything. as we Grayson the Ginger Brownie's got the lead so far against the Ravens. Shout out to the good old Cleveland Browns. Never thought I'd say that. I do, guys, just giving you a heads up. I do have some faith in the Pittsburgh Steelers. 9-8 is just how I see it ending, but that could change. That could change on a week-to-week basis. Week basis. Michael, where's MVS? Thought he'd be playing today. I thought so too, which is ridiculous that he wasn't out there. Even if the offense looked good, MVS should be on this team. What are you using Scotty Miller for? You know what I mean? Nothing. He doesn't play special teams. He doesn't play offense. Put MVS on the field. You know, just put him on the field before you have that other game that reminds you that you need him on the field. I thought he should have been on the field too. And I said that earlier, and I will continue to say it. Asante Samuel Jr. could slow roll his way in here. MVS should be on the field. Should be on the field. We'll finish it off with good old Matty here. What do you take away from Ramsey getting ejected? I said it earlier. I'll say it again. There are lines that you don't cross, and spitting on somebody should be one of them. And I'm not going to advocate for violence. I'm not going to advocate for somebody getting punched in the face. I'm not going to advocate for getting ejected in a game, especially an AFC North game. There are lines that people should not cross. Spitting on somebody, I think, is one of them. For sure. And did Chase actually spit? The videos say yes. Ramsey says yes. I don't know. All right. We'll speed around these ones, Michael. Also, whatever happened to Robert Woods? They released him a long time ago, right as the season started. He hasn't signed anywhere. Not sure if he's going to, or if his career has come to an end. And then Enigma After Dark. Also, respect my Athora Tomlin is hilarious. Shout out to my spinal cord confusion salad. Is 9-8 an underachievement or an overachievement? I don't think either. I think 9-8 is exactly where everybody anticipated them being coming into the season, and it's flatlined. It's right on the money. That's what I think. My record prediction coming into the season was 10-7. So I think it's exactly where everybody anticipated them being. I don't think it's an underachievement or an overachievement. If you win the AFC North, I think you did more than many people expected you to do. Even if the Ravens started off bad, you did more than people expected you to do. All right. With that said, guys, I'm heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another live stream post Pittsburgh Steelers win over the Cincinnati Bengals at Acrisure Stadium. Before you head out of here, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It does wonders for the channel, and it really helps me out. So I can't thank you guys enough for that one. With that one said, make sure to check us out, youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. Find us anywhere you get your podcast. Find all my work, especially after this game, at si.com/NFL/Steelers. I'll be back tomorrow morning with my to-go. Make sure you're checking that out. And then tomorrow afternoon for the flagship show. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.